Morning, everyone. Just waiting for a few more of you to join us. Morning, Caroline. Morning, Hannah. I'm going to chat up so I can see exactly who's coming in. Excellent. Let's make a start then. So, morning, everyone. I'm Laura Stead, and I'm the head of marketing here at Whyy. I head up all our CIM, our Chartered Institute of Marketing programs, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But first, I just wanted to set the scene. So this was going to be a very small event. I said to Matt, who was just sat over there, let's do a content masterclass with probably about 15 people. And that escalated very, very quickly. So here we are this morning. We've had to switch it into a webinar, and there's almost 100 of you on this morning. So I just want to thank you so much for your support, and it's really lovely actually to see that marketing community comes together and to do a little bit of skills development this morning. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. We're going to do a little bit of a presentation today. I'm hoping it's not going to be kind of death by PowerPoint, and I'm going to be talking you through some of my content marketing tips, quirks, tactics that I really honed over my marketing career. So without further ado, enjoy. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about Whyy and who we are and what we do. So we are a training provider and a consultancy based in Sheffield, in sunny South Yorkshire. And from my point of view, we are really proud to be a CIM study centre. We offer a really lovely selection of accredited CIM courses from a level 3 right up to the level 6. But one of the things that makes us particularly special, and one of the things that I genuinely love about Whyy, is that we can also offer those through the apprenticeship route as well. And let me tell you, if that was available to me when I was doing my training, I would have taken that up straight away. The apprenticeship is a really good way to get your CIM accreditation, but also get a full apprenticeship qualification as well. It's much more aligned to your job role. I think from, a lot of people think that apprenticeships are just for people that are maybe leaving school or leaving college, but that's simply not the case. It's just a form of learning model. So we have apprenticeships and apprentices for people of all different stages in their career, looking to sharpen their skills and kind of improve their skill set. So if anyone ever does want to know anything more about our Chartered Institute of Marketing courses, whether that is through the traditional route or whether that's through an apprenticeship, do get in touch, drop me a message on LinkedIn, email me, visit our website, get in touch, and I would love to have a chat. So who on earth am I? So I'm a chartered marketer. I've worked in marketing for coming up to 18 years now. When I started out, Facebook wasn't even invented. So I'm a little bit of a marketing dinosaur. I'm a marketing consultant, and I'm head of marketing here at Whyy as well. I'm also a trustee at charity and kind of support the marketing angle on their board as well. And that's something that I'm really passionate about. So I've been working with lots of businesses over the years, sometimes in-house, more recently as a consultant. And some of the common problems that I find, particularly for people that might be kind of new to marketing or quite junior in their career, is how do we organise all this marketing stuff that we need to do? And that's what today's is about, really. So content marketing, what is it? It's creating valuable information and circulating that out through the relevant channels that's going to meet our audience. Now, there's one really important bit about content marketing is that it does need to resonate and be completely relevant to your audience. So if you've not already done perhaps a segmentation exercise or really looked at who you're targeting and where you're positioning your brand and your business, then that is always a really good starting point for when you're looking at your marketing in general, but particularly for when we go down this content marketing style. There's no point us creating content that people don't want to see. So we need to have a real good understanding of what that customer base is. And there's lots of things that you can achieve through content. We're moving away from just churning out things on social media, just for the sake of it, and actually really looking at what does our audience want to see? Do they perhaps need educating a little bit? Do they need to learn more about our brand, our business, and our product or our services? Are they wanting to build a relationship with us? It is far more cost effective to retain a customer than it is to be going out acquiring new ones all of the time. And you can really use your content to keep your customer base as loyal to you as possible. And I'm sure, if anyone that's ever been on a marketing workshop before or a social media workshop, it's all about engagement. And yeah, it is. It's all about engaging with that audience to give them a reason to want to get involved with you, to want to buy from you, to want to learn from you. And we can use content as a tool to really position our brand or an individual as a real thought leader in their field. Little bit of a kind of buzzword, but showing that actually you are a trusted source of information in your particular specialism, in your particular sector or corner, your little niche of the marketplace. So it can be a really good positioning tool. Now, the one thing that I really want you to take away from today is that I want you to find your own groove. A quick search for content marketing on something like Pinterest or Instagram or even Google, and you will be inundated with thousands of templates to follow. Some of those might be free, some of them you can subscribe to. There's some really good content planners out there and that kind of stuff. But this needs to be completely tailored to your business. You need to find your own groove with it. Find out not only what your customers are interested in and what they would like to engage with, but also really play to your strengths. There's no point kind of forcing content out there if it's perhaps under-resourced, if it is, a little bit rough around the edges, because that's not going to portray your brand as well as what you would like it to. So if within your marketing resource in your company, whether that's you, whether you're a solo marketer in your business, or whether you've got a team, there's something around actually exploring the strengths that you've got in-house. And if not, some people obviously go out to agencies to get that kind of expertise. But don't be copying anything that you've just kind of read that's not relevant to your business. Really find out and plan what suits your particular brand and your team. Okay, so the big question is, what do people want to see? And disappointingly, I'm not going to give you a list today and say, yes, your customers want to see this, you must be doing that. Because I don't know who your customers are. I don't know what they're into. I don't know where they're hanging out. I don't know what they want to see about your products or your services. But there are some common things that people do like to see. They like to see stuff that's relevant to them. And you will know what is relevant through speaking to customers, speaking to colleagues that are perhaps customer facing, perhaps tapping into your insights as well. So if you have your insights for your website and your socials, perhaps you've got a CRM system that's got some insight in there. Really looking at that, not disregarding it, and thinking based on our relationship with these customers and prospective customers, what do they want to see? One of the things that people do like, and this is for marketing and branding in general, not just for content marketing, is consistency. In my line of work, I meet with lots of businesses that use a consultant like myself to kind of get them back on track with their marketing. And I'm very much in the market of skills development. I'm not going to do it for you. I'm going to teach you how to do it yourself. And a lot of the businesses that I work with, the business owners, they skip off, enthused, they can't wait to get going with this content. They've realised what their customers want, what they can do in-house. And for a few weeks, their content looks amazing, epic. We've got video, we've got blogs, the website's had a bit of a refresh, we're going live, really lovely. And then they actually get busy doing the work that has generated. And their content drops off a cliff. And that consistency drops as well. And their customers and their followers are left thinking, oh, what's happened there? Where have they gone? What are they doing? So one of the things that I want you to try and maybe take away from today is when you are doing your content planning, figure out how you can get that level of consistency to it, whether that's the level of frequency of the content that you're putting out, whether that's the format, whether that's the style. Don't try and be all things to all people. Find a nice consistent pattern that works for you and works for your audience as well. Now, content planning can work very well for two particular things in my experience. The main thing, and where it helped me when I first kind of started implementing this style of working, is with that day-to-day communications and marketing. So the things that are ticking along, the regular bits, you might have new products that you need to promote once in a while. Your company might be doing bits of events, and the day-to-day. And sometimes as a marketer, we can feel a little bit overwhelmed, quite frankly, with the volume of that day-to-day stuff. And we kind of feel, I'm hoping that some of you can maybe resonate with this, is that, I wish someone would just sort out this day-to-day so I can get off and do my exciting campaigns that are, a little bit more energy to them. But we still need to do the day-to-day. So sometimes when we do that content planning approach, it helps you manage those day-to-day commitments and helps you look at the consistency across the outputs that you're putting into your marketplace. It does also really help when you are running a campaign. So a campaign is when you are, you're specifically having a concerted effort it's usually around changing behavior. So you might be wanting to sell more to a particular audience. You might be wanting to launch a new product. You might be wanting to maybe shift the perception of your brand, and we can wrap that up into a really nice campaign. And that content approach can really help you through managing that, especially well if you're a solo, and it works well if you've got a team around you as well. So a bit of a mantra here, which is probably going to be familiar for most people, but proper planning prevents poor performance. And that really is true. I have clients, I've got one in particular, I'm not going to name check them because it'd be really embarrassing, although they wouldn't really mind. They go through peaks and troughs with planning. And oh my gosh, you can see that in their business. You know, when they are planning things out, when everything's kind of structured and in place, their business is absolutely thriving. You know, their content is strong, their customers are absolutely loving it. But then every now and again, they will dip into a little bit of a trough of not planning, kind of in that firefighter mode that I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with. And that has, from an outsider looking in, a real big impact on how they're perceived in that marketplace. The quality of their content dips. There's no kind of theming or rhythm to it, and that inevitably has an effect on their profit at the end of the day. And I don't want that to happen to you guys. Also, without sounding preachy, it makes your life so much easier. You know, you can really plan the resources that you need to be putting into your marketing content and to your work in general. It makes your to-do list far easier to manage. It also makes life easier, particularly if you've got a team and everyone's then pulling in the right direction, because we know what our content plan is. So again, what is content? And I've got a little bit of a kind of tick list. I'm not going to read through it from start to finish, but from an audience point of view, there's 3 key things that people really want to see. They want to see things that are relevant to them. They want to buy from brands and buy from businesses that they know resonate with their needs at that particular time. They also need something that is of value to them. You know, we are not entering the realms of clickbait or just putting out bump for the sake of it. They need to find a real value in it. And that could be something that educates them. It could be something that entertains them, if that's in line with your brand personality. But really do think of, you can create this great bit of content, but what value does that give to your audience? And if I've said it once, I've said it a million times, consistency. They don't want peaks and troughs. People take a lot of comfort in knowing what to expect. And that correlates into businesses and brands as well. So that consistent approach can help that audience keep on board. It also, annoyingly, really helps from a social media point of view as well. So what can it be? Well, the world's your oyster. I'm not going to sit here and say, everybody must be doing 3 blogs a week and 20 social media posts a day. That is just not my vibe. But what I do want you to think about is the format that you might be creating your content in. Are you doing written word, otherwise known as copy? Have we got photos? Have we got images, videos, podcasts? Over the last 12 months have become spectacularly popular. So it could just be audio only. There's lots of different ways that you can present your content. And one of the things to do just every now and again is make sure that is still current with what your audience is into at that particular time. So where does a bit of content start? Apologies for the really kind of naff, starts as a seed, grows into a tree analogy, but it kind of fits perfectly. So imagine your topic, your theme, as a little acorn. It might be that, you or someone in your organisation can talk about a particular topic. For me, today, I'm talking about content. That's my little seedling. That's my topic that I'm focusing on, because evidently by the sheer volume of people that I'm talking to right now, that's really important to people in my sector at the moment. take that seedling of an idea. I like to write it down when I'm first doing a content plan. I'll get a big sheet of paper. The idea is in the middle, and then I'm literally drawing branches off it as to what that could lead to. Could it lead to you doing a webinar for way many people than you originally thought? Or could it translate into a blog, an ebook, an event, a social media campaign? The world is your oyster, but do always think back, keep it rooted, excuse the pun, to what your customers want and where your skill set lies within your business. And here's a list. I'm not going to go through it top to bottom, but I want you to think hard about the format that people would really resonate with. Where are they hanging out online? What are they influenced by? Does your audience have time to sit down and watch a long form video or sit and read an ebook? Or are they wanting things that are quick and easy for them to digest? Think about what their media preferences are. Are they visual people? Can we get lots of images and, you know, bright pictures to inspire them? Or have you got the kind of audience that wants to see hard stats, quantitative information, you know, extracts from scientific evidence, that kind of vibe? Really shape that format to suit your customers. And here, I'll just leave this up here for you to digest a bit. This is available afterwards if you want to kind of go back and use it as a bit of a crib sheet. But we can chop content down into 4 different categories. So we have earned content, and this is the stuff that marketers and our extremely hardworking colleagues in comms and PR work hard to get. This is things like media coverage. This is things like having a great relationship with an external blogger that is happy to do some content for you. This is having earned really good relationships with your customers to the point where they're willing to do a case study, a video testimonial, to come and stand up and speak at an event to tell the people how brilliant your brand is. So we have to work really hard to get that earned media. We then have shared. It's not a new concept, but it feels like the marketing world is going crazy for a collaboration these days. But this is working with other people, whether that's your customers, whether that is people that are key in your sector, and collaborating with them and creating shared media. We then have owned, and this is really about what we're focusing on today, the content that you organically create, where you might be using your in-house expertise to communicate about a particular project. These are the stories that surround your brand, your business, your employees, and your customers. Things like content that is on your website. You know, we don't want to be making a great big fuss in this marketing ether if then people go back to our website and it's a little bit lackluster. So making sure that we've got really nice content about our brand, about our products, and about our services over on our website as well. And then we have paid. I'm from Yorkshire. For those of you who aren't, you may have heard of our reputation that we don't like spending money if we don't have to. So I prefer to focus on things that are organic and owned. But if I absolutely must, I will part with some of that marketing budget and pay for some paid media as well. And this is, you know, you can practically advertise on anything these days. But one of the important things is that your owned media and your paid media integrates and has that synergy as well. They're not happening in silo. Okay, I'm just going to leave this up here. I'm just going to bob on to the Q&A because I can see that some of you have asked some questions. Yeah, slides will be available afterwards. We're also going to upload it onto YouTube. So, you know, if you fancy listening to my Broad Yorkshire accent again, it'll be on YouTube forevermore. So two really interesting questions on here. How, as a freelancer, how do I find a groove that will suit all tastes for my website? Okay, thank you for your question, John. Without knowing sort of the ins and outs of your business and your customer base, it is really difficult to tell. But what I would suggest that you focus on is who exactly you're trying to target. Have you done that customer segmentation to start with? You know, if I had £1 for every client that said to me, Laura, I can sell this product or service to everyone, anyone, everywhere, well, that's lovely. But we have not got the money to be in front of absolutely everybody. Nobody has, not even the massive, massive brands have. So my first starting point is actually really trying to focus on maybe 2 or 3 different segments that as a freelancer you really want to work in, whether that's because of your expertise or one of the things that I've done in the past is really made a concerted effort with my content at a segment of the market that I just thought, you know, would be really fun and cool to work in, and that worked a treat. And then Alice has asked, what are the top 3 common mistakes that new startups make when developing and delivering content? Right, the first mistake is, and I touched on this earlier, biting off way more than you can chew. As a startup business, you are probably the marketing manager, the HR manager, the operations manager, and everything in between, as well as being the chief exec. So going back to kind of pacing things, really fitting into your content, what you can do, don't overcommit yourself with it. The second mistake, and it's not necessarily just relevant for startup businesses, is that, contrary to popular belief, social media is not the absolute be all and end all. There are lots of other ways that you can market and promote your business and get your content out there. So don't just concentrate on social media. Look at all the options that you've got. The third is doing it all by yourself. And by that, I'm not endorsing going out and, blowing the budget on, a fancy pants agency that can do it for you. They'll do a great job. But to start with, just surround yourself with people that you can perhaps bounce ideas off, people who can have a look at your content and give you really honest feedback. Build around you that community of people that goes beyond, family and friends and neighbours, that you can, email a blog to and see if they like the style of it and the tone of it, and that will give you that really impartial feedback. Trying to do it all on your own with no support and no one to bounce ideas off can actually start feeling really lonely. So do build that network up around you. Fabulous. Okay. Right. I'm going to answer a few more questions in a bit. So here, it's a bit of content. It's not the most, hard-hitting bit of content, but it's beans on Weetabix. This little bit of content landed on people's screens a few weeks ago now, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. It went viral, basically. I'm not a massive fan of that term, but after Weetabix had put out this tweet in collaboration with Heinz, they then had a crazy amount of coverage. If you just Google Weetabix and beans, you know, the top 5 pages of Google are full of articles, blogs, videos, people trying it. We've then got national TV presenters trying the beans on Weetabix. We've got news articles about it kind of worldwide. It then turned into a little bit of a kind of a little bit of Twitter fun, basically. So lots of big brands jumping on the bandwagon, having a little bit of fun with Weetabix, because, you know, the concept of beans and Weetabix is quite frankly a little bit gross. And you'll see just on the right there, this is actually from Australia. Someone had made a wedding cake out of Weetabix and beans with some delicious looking bacon rosettes on there. Their first bit of content was just that picture of the beans with the Weetabix. And I'm not suggesting that you go off and do something as wacky or as crazy as this. But I just kind of wanted to demonstrate how just one bit of content can gain a lot of traction if it resonates with people. I think with Weetabix and beans, they published it, it just landed at the right time to capture the sentiment of the UK or even of the world at that particular time. Lo and behold, that resulted in a 15% increase in sales for Weetabix the following week afterwards. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that every time you have a really strong bit of content, your sales are going to rocket up by at least 15%. But I just want to demonstrate actually just getting something out there that is of interest to people at a particular time can have some real good results afterwards. Okay, so when are we going to do this content planning? Here are my 4 kind of top tips, really. I like to do it annually, in terms of once a year, to start with, sitting out and hatching that plan as to what I want my marketing to look like for the year ahead, taking into account what I've set in my overarching marketing strategy, perhaps taking into account the campaigns that I'm going to focus on that year, but also taking into account that day to day. I have clients that do this on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, but I really do find a value in setting out that 12 months to start with. You're in your content plan every day, so things change and move, but I find the year to view really, really works for me. Or you can use it just on a campaigns basis. You can adopt that content planning approach just to get you through a campaign that you've designed, to get you from start to finish with all the content in between. My approach is to really look at, and I'll explain this in a little while when I demo how I do a content plan, is to look at the external world. So if you've done, your pestle analysis as part of your macro environment, you might know of things that are happening in the lives of your audience and your sector that may have an impact on your business or your marketing at a point in the year. So I really like to focus on those. The other thing that I like to focus on is internal milestones as well. And this could be, something as simple as, celebrating your millionth customer or your 10,000th Instagram follower, those kind of things. But we can also look at things like product launches, events that we might be delivering. It might be new services or new packages that we're delivering. And if, and sometimes I have this with some of my clients, you might not feel like your business has those, you can perhaps use this content planning process to figure out, well, actually, could you create a variation of your service at a particular point in the year? Could you produce something that is limited edition? Could you kind of reshape how your products are presented into collections or seasons or whatever that might be? And really, really importantly, just be realistic with it. This is not an approach. This approach supposed to be saving you time and freeing up you as a resource to concentrate on other things that might have a bigger impact. So be realistic with it. Don't make your content plan so ambitious for yourself and for your team that it's going to feel like a real hard slog every day. And I had to get them in there. I teach on CIM, and the CIM are a huge lover of SMART objectives. So if you can, do make your objectives around your content planning SMART. Are they actually specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound? So I'll do this slide and then I'll just ask, I'll answer a few more questions. So I layer mine up like a cake. Anyone that has ever been on one of my training courses will know that every example always ends up being food related. So here is my 3-tier cake of content. So the first thing that I suggest that you look at is what is happening in the external world, things that are having an impact on the lives, the careers, the workplace of your customer base at a particular time in the year. Really get a good understanding of what they are experiencing. The second layer down are those internal milestones that we've just spoken about. And it's a good idea, just as I mentioned when I was answering the earlier question, bounce those ideas off other people as well. If you've got a team around you, the amount of content planning workshops I've been involved in and delivered for internal teams, just for us to kind of be creative and think about, well, internally, what do we really need to be telling people about? And then the hard bit at the bottom is, what content do you need to dovetail those together? If there's something happening that's real big externally and you've got something to say about it from an internal point of view, then what content can you create around that? Can you do an event, a blog, a little social media campaign, a live Q&A, whatever it might be? So this will really help you focus on what format that needs to be in. Now, I call it a content plan. In other places, it can be called a comms planner or horizon scanning. There's a million different, name it, call it whatever you want. But for me, it's content plan. And this is my favorite platform to use. Just before I kind of go and show you how I produce a content plan, I'm just going to bob on and answer a few more questions. This is a nice one. Do I think paper advertising will be overtopped by online advertising in the near future? Well, no, I don't. To be perfectly honest, I am still a lover of paper-based marketing, whether that is a really nice bit of direct mail, whether that's merchandise, whether that is hard copy literature and magazines. The digital marketing, don't get me wrong, it's amazing, it's fantastic, it's opened up a whole new world of opportunity for businesses and for brands. But what I've experienced is that can sometimes leave a massive gap in the marketplace for a brand to stand out by having something hard copy. And it is, I still, I love it. I love it when something comes in the post that's unexpected, a really nice piece of direct mail from somewhere. I did get one actually. It was a company that was selling like a corporate hospitality offer. It was a race course. And they sent me a lovely brochure, really nice images and client testimonials, really lovely. And it had got a free chocolate bar attached to it. So things like little freebies in the post, good old paper-based desk drops, I think will always exist for as long as people like tangible things. And sometimes that can really help a brand stand out, particularly if their sector and their competitors are purely focusing on digital. So I think there'll be a place for both forever. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to Trello. Actually, just let me know in the chat. Does anyone use Trello already? Let me have a look what's happening in the chat over here. Let's have a look here. Yeah, there's a few of you using it already. Brill. Know about it, but not using it. Yeah, so Trello, I'll put this out. This is not an affiliation. I wish it was. If anyone's got any roots back into Trello and they would like to pay me for endorsing their products, that would be lovely. If we could get word to spread back to them, great. Trello is something that I discovered when I first went freelance, which would be just under 4 years ago. I have created content plans using Post-it notes, flip chart paper. I remember one organisation where we were having that big sort of team content meeting. We'd got all our campaigns approved by the chief exec and we're figuring what we're going to do. And we had a lovely big conference room. And I went to B&Q and bought a roll of lining paper, and we stuck the lining paper up all the way around the room and manually created our content plan by scribbling on the lining paper and sticking Post-its on and all that kind of stuff. Just for someone had to type that up afterwards, which is not always a great job. I've had Excel ones in the past that have turned into humongous Excel spreadsheets with all my content on. But Trello, it's just made a massive difference to how I plan my content and my campaigns as well. As I mentioned, I'm from Yorkshire, so I'm only using the free version. There is a paid for version, which I assume is very, very lovely, but I'm loyal to the free version. So I'm just going to share with you a little test content plan. Oh, sorry, please don't judge me by the state of my desktop. A little test content plan that I have created. And this is pretty much my tried and tested Trello content plan format, but you tweak it as you wish. So in Trello, you can set up a board, a Trello board. And within your board, you can add these tabs to it. So if we wanted to add another one just at the end for December's content, we've then got a list for December. Now, in each of the tabs, you can then create a card, and it's the cards for me that I use to denote the things that are happening in that external environment and the things that are happening internally, and therefore what content do I need to create from that. What I also do right at the beginning is I create like a little bit of a, let's call it a dumping ground for all the little bits and bobs that I just need on hand all of the time when I'm creating content. So things like my colour palettes with my hex codes in, contacts for bloggers, my photography contacts, common hashtags that I'm using. Anything that is at risk of being in my brain only and not being out there somewhere, I like to kind of dump it over in this area first. Okay, so in here then, so we're in March at the minute. I have to think which month we're in for a moment there. And as you can see from here, let me just do, I'm hoping you can see that. So we can see at the beginning here is where I layer up things that are happening in the external world, things that in my particular customer base, I know that they're going to be affected by that or are talking about that at that particular time in that month. Or it might be things that I know that my potential customers are going to be seeing content from my competitors as well. So things that we need to kind of get on board with. In here as well, this is the first and only time that I'll mention it today, but I have got the UK COVID roadmap as well, because that is going to have a significant impact on my audience. So all my externals sit in the top. And as you can see, as we go through, different topics, things like, mental health awareness week. That might be something that as a business, you want to be showing your support in that area that can lend itself to maybe shifting your content for that particular week from it perhaps being the usual maybe sales orientated over to something like a mental health awareness campaign. You will see there's different websites where there's different kind of theme days that you can jump on board as well. National Talk Like a Pirate Day, National Donut Day, whatever that might be. And if that's something that within your brand and within your audience, you want to kind of talk about those, these are the things that are going to go on that top layer as well. Now, I have a little word of warning about that. Try not to fall down the rabbit hole of awareness days. There is an awareness day pretty much for every day of the year, if not several different awareness days on the same day. They're not all going to be relevant to your audience. They can be fun. They can lead to nice pictures of donuts and your team dressing up as pirates and that kind of thing. But it can sometimes really detract away from your key messages from your business. So although it's fun, try not to get too carried away with the crazy awareness days. And then underneath are kind of my milestones really. So here in April, for us over at Whyy, we've got the intake of our next CIM cohorts. So we know that in April that is happening. So there's things that we need to do in advance in March from a content point of view to be raising awareness of that intake and letting people know that those courses are happening at the end of April. So for example, in March, right here, we might be hosting a free content masterclass to give people the opportunity to meet the tutor, find out what it's like to be learning from myself and a little bit more about Whyy as well. For anybody that is doing an e-newsletter, I love an e-newsletter. I feel like I need some sort of acknowledgement or special little enamel badge or maybe a tiara to tell the world how much I actually love an e-newsletter. I'm an absolute e-newsletter nerd. And if your organisation is doing an e-newsletter, use this content plan to figure out what you're putting in that. I have worked in organisations in the past where it's been my responsibility to write the monthly newsletter. And I have been scratching around for content and it's, you end up inventing it. And it's the worst feeling in the world. You know that you're going to send something to some people that's, not as good as what it could be. Fast forward to now, if I'm doing the content for someone's newsletter, if we've done a content plan, more often than not, I've got too much content for that newsletter. It really helps you create something that can be super engaging for your audience and therefore get a better return. Something, maybe dare I say it, that people are looking forward to receiving into their inboxes. So when we're adding a card, just for those of you kind of not used Trello before, there are lots of things that you can put into a card as well. So I'm just going to open this newsletter one up. So here this is for my newsletter. And I like to kind of dump in here all the bits of content ideas from that particular month that I think, you know what, that's going to make a really good newsletter for this month. So I've got my description in there. As things start springing to mind, or as that might change, I can kind of update these, or I can add a new bit of content. So let's imagine that Matt is going to do my newsletter for me. Matt's creating my case study, sorry. Here he is. Let's put a little action point in there. I am a really visual learner, which is probably why I find that Trello works really well for me. You can also change the background colours on it, which I like to play around with when I'm procrastinating. However, some of the things that do work really well are particularly the ability to label things. So if there is a card and it is an action I specifically have to do, I can action it. You can obviously go down the route of doing it, whichever colour you want. If it was super urgent, I might make this my urgent card. So I need to action and it's urgent. I can also, and I'm not going to go through, all the features of this. It's not a sales pitch for Trello, but I can attach due dates to it as well. So if I know that actually I really need to do that newsletter by next Wednesday, I can put a due date on there as well. What I can also do, and what helps me in particular, is kind of move and shape these around as well. So I can see that, May is looking like quite a busy month here. We've got a campaign that's happening for mental health awareness. We've got a fundraiser for Samaritans that maps in with that. We're going to do a blog. We're going to do a live Q&A on Insta. We've got another masterclass. We've got a guest blog. And we've got a newsletter. And at this point, I might be looking at that and thinking, do you know what? Is that realistic? Am I going to have the resources in-house to pull that off? And I might think, well, do you know what? No, I can't achieve that. I don't want to put anything out that's not at the level of quality that it needs to be. So I'm going to change my live Q&A and I'm going to shift that into the next month and just drag it over. And I think, well, actually, do you know what? That fits quite nicely, actually, because in June, we've lined up a media interview. We've got a nice live Q&A, so we'll do that on the same topic, and we're launching a networking event, which I can plug at the radio interview, and I can mention it in that Q&A as well. So you can start shaping this to get that level of consistency and to make sure it's realistic to how, to what you can deliver. Going back to my previous point about not kind of setting yourself up to fail by being so ambitious with your content plan. Really do this to create something that is controlled and measured and achievable, and that you can do something that, absolutely shines. Okay, so we are coming up to halfway through. We're just going to have a little, let's say, a 10-minute comfort break, and then we'll come back for a few more tips, and I'll try and answer as many of your questions as possible as well. So I will meet you back here in 10 minutes. Hi, welcome back everyone. I hope you enjoyed your little break. So I'm just picking up on a few of the questions that are in the Q&A. So there's one around having multiple Trello boards. So yeah, you can set up multiple Trello boards. Sometimes I might create a board specifically for a campaign that I'm working on. As a consultant, I'll create one for a particular client. I tell you what, I've even got one for. I use my address book on there as well. So all the addresses that I need to have and people's birthdays and stuff, I've got saved in a Trello board. One of the things that you can do, so you're kind of not feeling like you are monitoring several boards all at the same time. You can sort of copy and paste actions from one board to another. One of the things that I have found is a real time saver as well, is that you can actually email things to your board. So if I've, picked up an email and I think, oh, do you know what, that would work really well for this campaign over here, rather than getting distracted and answering that email straight away, I will just ping it over to the relevant board, shape it into my plan, and then get back to them in a kind of more logical time. So it kind of helps me with my time management as well. I've got a question about return on investment for social media, which is like the $1 million question, really. And there's a few things that I would say about that, really. The first thing is that you have got really clear business objectives in terms of what you want to get from that social media in the first place. Are you wanting it to generate more leads? Are you wanting it to, get more people over onto your website? Really define what you want your objective to be, so you know what you're measuring against. The other thing I would say is try not to get swept up in what we call vanity metrics. So yeah, you might have a gazillion followers and amazing reach, but is that actually converting into sales, clicks, profit, and so on and so forth? The other thing that I would do is have a real concrete idea about the resource that is actually going into that social media. So how many hours are you or your team or your agency spending actually creating that content, and is that actually worth it when you look at the sales that it's generating? In practical terms, there's lots of different third-party platforms like Hootsuite and HubSpot that will help you to measure it. One of my kind of tactics that I use is to make the most of things like trackable links. So if I am doing a particular campaign out on social media, I will associate that with a trackable link. So I can measure in my website analytics how that has converted into interest, engagement, and then ultimately into sales and profits as well. But I think, if you are new to measuring that return on investment, or you're just kind of wanting to set a benchmark to go forward, I really would start off with setting those really clear objectives in the first place, so you know what you're measuring against. Okie dokes. Another thing about content and content marketing is that content doesn't necessarily have to be created fresh all of the time. Otherwise, you're going to turn into a content creator rather than, a marketeer. And when we have a content plan in place, and we've created some content, we can start to look at how we might repurpose that, recycle it, refresh and reshape it, to use it in the future. So we're not constantly reinventing the wheel all of the time. And ultimately, I want you to use this process to make your life a lot easier. So there's a few ways that we can do this. But firstly, I just wanted to share with you, this has been kicking about on social media for a little while, but these are clips are from Disney, where they have recycled their content as well. So don't feel like it's a dodgy tactic to deploy. The greats like Disney are even repurposing their content. So check out this little clip of how Disney repurposed some of their content as well. I'm going to leave that one there. So, repurposing your content then. Let me just share that with you. It's something that if you have created some content that has particularly perhaps worked really well, you might have found your groove and you started to do a bit of blog writing. Can you chop them up and repurpose them into different formats? So I've just put some kind of ideas up to get you thinking really, but it's around being kind of more savvy in terms of the content that you've got and when you can repurpose it in the future. So if you have got, a long form video, can you have it edited and chopped up into smaller chunks that you could put out on your social media? If you've found your groove and you are writing articles, does that lend itself to doing a downloadable ebook that you can use as a bit of content as well? If you're doing a live Q&A, perhaps you're broadcasting it on YouTube or Insta or whatever your platform of choice is, can that be recorded at the same time and then published as a podcast? Some of the techniques that I have kind of used as well is, if you are investing time, effort and budget into perhaps having a promo video done, and you've gone to the kind of the logistical effort of getting your customers involved, while you've done that, you might as well get a photographer on board as well and get your stills as well as your video. So we're kind of having those kind of efforts to get as much content as possible that you can almost then look at and chop and change and republish over the year. If you have had something that you know has worked really well, and that's why I like to look at a 12-month plan. If I'd done that campaign around mental health awareness week, and that went down really well with my audience, had lots of engagement, we got great feedback from it, then that's certainly something that I would replicate and continue to do in the next year as well. But I'm not going to create my content from scratch that year after. If I'd done, found out that actually in year one, the blog worked really well and the live Q&A worked best, I'm going to replicate those, but I'm not going to rewrite that blog from scratch. I'm just going to refresh it. I'm going to put the latest stats in. I might switch around a few of the quotes and republish it again. So you're not constantly churning out fresh content all of the time. There is something to be said. It is probably my least favorite marketing buzzword at the minute, but creating evergreen content. And by that, it's creating content that is not time specific, it's timeless, and it can sit there and be relevant all of the time. So if you've perhaps got an article on your website or an ebook that doesn't mention specific dates and times, you can be using perhaps your social media to refer back to that. You could be doing, I don't know, a pitch at an event somewhere and be telling people to go and check out the ebook because it's a timeless classic that you've created. But don't lose sight of what your customer has engaged with first and foremost. If you are finding that actually your customers are really loving the events that you're doing, continue with that. Don't reinvent the wheel. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And then ultimately, we need to find out, did it work? Now, us marketers, I'd say about 10 years ago, and before that, we used to get a little bit of stick for not being so hot at measuring things. But my word, have we improved that since then, particularly with advances in digital. It's far easier now for you to measure whether these efforts are working. And I've just put up there kind of a few of the key metrics that I tend to focus on when I'm doing a bit of content marketing. Web analytics are really key. If one of your key drivers is perhaps getting your content to link back to your website and then convert into sales, website analytics to me are an absolute must. Again, like I mentioned with measuring the ROI for your social media, don't get too swept up in vanity metrics. It is fantastic that your website has lots of visitors. It's great that your social media has loads and loads of followers. But we need to make sure that that is actually converting into real life business and sales. I touched on it earlier, but retaining a customer is far more cost effective than going out and acquiring new ones all of the time. There's always a place for acquiring new ones. Customers are always going to leave. Especially, they might have exhausted our product range. They might have come to the end of their customer journey with us. But really looking at the balance between new customers and retained customers. Is your content one of the reasons why they are staying with you and that they're engaging with you? And I've put it on there as well, is team happiness. We can be, and I've worked in teams where we are, really turning out content and it's really rewarding and it's lovely. But keep an eye on those team happiness levels. If we're heads down in that content plan, is it working for everybody? Do we need to stage a bit of an intervention where we have a bit of the content away day, where we get our creative juices flowing again. You know, we are marketing professionals, and with that we like to create things, we like to explore new ideas. So do keep an eye on whether this is resulting in a happy team, because we want a happy team that are creating lovely content, and that their energy translates into that as well. So this is my what's hot. So imagine Laura's crystal ball of marketing. Like I said right at the very beginning, I have no idea what is going to work for your unique business and for your customer base and your potential customer base. That's for you to get into your content groove and to find out. However, there are four things that I just feel are going to be really popular from a content point of view for 2021 and beyond. Social proof always has been, and particularly at the minute, is really key. By social proof, I mean getting your customers to talk about how wonderful you are, getting to show things like maybe it's pictures of happy customers, customers wearing your products, customers using your services, anything where you can put customers to the forefront. This is something that kind of bigger brands are really picking up on, but I'm pleased to see that it's now filtering through to smaller businesses as well. And actually, you know, smaller businesses can be more agile in getting that kind of feedback. I think it's just sometimes we're a little bit too proud, too modest to go to those customers and say, do you know what, can we pop out and film you? You know, can you say that on camera? Can you just write that up for us? Can we interview you? So social proof is absolutely huge. And that then leads itself to some really nice content. You never know, that might even unearth a customer story that would make a really good press release. Video. You know, we all work in marketing, so we all know how important video is. So if it's something that you've not explored already, I'd really encourage you to figure out how you can incorporate that into your content plan and into the marketing of your business. We then have Instagram Reels and Instagram Stories. So for a long time, Instagram Stories have been getting fantastic engagement for brands. We know that when people are on Instagram, they are particularly inclined to make a purchase if they've seen kind of one of their peers or someone that they are influenced by using or wearing that product. And so Stories is really built on that. Reels, however, has taken that to a whole new platform and does dovetail really nicely with what I've just said about video. So a really nice little way to whip up a little bit of content, and it lends itself really nicely to that kind of more backstage, behind the scenes content, so people can get a really good feel for, you know, a day in the life of being at your business. One thing, and it is, this is because of the things that I follow on Instagram, but there seems to be a massive trend at the minute for people doing reels on them just packaging up their products. And honestly, it's the most therapeutic thing to watch. People, you know, putting the products in the box with the tissue paper and the branded sticker and the business card. They work really well for reels. So if you've got a product that does that, you can do that. Bingo. And then the fourth, so I'm conscious that, you know, a lot of you found out about today's event through LinkedIn. LinkedIn is having like a real renaissance at the minute. You know, they're advancing their technologies. I don't know about you, but my news feed feels like a much happier place. on LinkedIn than it perhaps was a few years ago. I think people are realising that you can be more personable, a little bit more human with your content on LinkedIn. And what I'm really pleased to see is that there seems to be kind of industries and people on there that haven't traditionally been on LinkedIn. Lots of creative industries, third sector organisations, and it's really lovely to actually see their content. And LinkedIn is moving away from content being very sales orientated to things that are a little bit more about the story, the journey, the things that people go through to get to kind of where they are in their career. So maybe it's just me that's fallen back in love with LinkedIn, but I do think that that is a real key platform to be on board with for any brand at the minute, because it is just really having a real shift in its kind of style, its etiquette, and in its content at the moment. Right, I'm just going to pop back onto the chat and the questions to see if we've got any more questions that have come in. So there's a question about with Trello, can you get your supervisor or clients to have a look at the board as well? So yes, you can. You can create teams on Trello where you can share a board, which works really well. I think that might be limited as to how many of those you can have on the free version, but I still think it's quite generous. I think I've probably got about 5 or 6 shared boards, and I'm still on the free plan. So yeah, you can use it as a tool to collaborate with other people as well. All right, let's see what other questions I've got. Is there a dashboard that gives an overview of all boards? Sadly not. I can only speak for the free version that I use. I've not found a way that I can sort of see all boards at once. Is that kind of one at a time kind of view. But like I mentioned earlier, what I've started to do for things where there's overlapping kind of common tasks is I'll copy and paste them over perhaps onto my master content plan, and I'm kind of using that as my one board to work from. Question from Alison. So which sources do you use to find the reliable national events happening? If truth be told, I have not got one reliable source. I stalk the internet basically, and what I tend to do is have a look at events that competitors might be attending, events that other colleagues have heard of, are interested in. It is for me just, traditional market research and figuring out what is out there that's worth going to. What I tend to do is, going back to my love of e-coms, is I subscribe to anything that I think is relevant to my marketplace, and I will scour those e-bulletins for the heads up of any events that are taking place as well. I do put them all out, unsurprisingly. I've got a Trello board for events and awards that I can either attend or enter, or clients can enter. And what I do tend to do, maybe this is because I'm tight and I don't like parting with a marketing budget, is when I see an event, I will tend to just go as an attendee first. So I can get a really good idea as to whether it's something that I might want to get more involved in. When we go back perhaps one day to have kind of physical trade shows and things, I'll always attend as an attendee first rather than jumping straight in with the trade show approach, because I tend to find that some events that I have attended and exhibited at the past, they've looked amazing from a marketing point of view, but when I've got there, it's not quite lived up to that expectation. So I'm always a little bit cautious, because events can be hugely expensive things to use as a marketing tool. I'll always attend first, suss it out, do a bit of networking, talk to people that are exhibiting, follow the speakers on Twitter or Insta, and try and get a feel for what their relationship is with the event as well. And then if I do think it's worth it, I'll probably book a stand the year after. That's obviously also completely different with things that are on online, but I'd certainly kind of try something as a customer before perhaps then going in and sponsoring or hosting an event. I hope that has answered your question. Lovely. I'm just going to have a little look in the chat. So if you do have any questions, type away. I finished a little bit ahead of time. That's probably because I'm speaking at 100 miles an hour. So if you have got any questions, drop it in the chat now. So a few people are asking about the presentation afterwards. So yeah, we'll circulate the presentation afterwards. We're also going to upload the recording of this session over onto YouTube as well, so you can watch it back if you'd like to. The other thing that if you're interested in it, this is the first time we've done a free masterclass. And like I said right at the beginning, we were pitching this to maybe like 15 people. We thought we might get a few local contacts and networks interested. And that escalated very, very quickly into quite a large webinar. So if this is the kind of thing that you do find useful, maybe from a CPD point of view, or maybe, just to get your head out of the day-to-day work and be focused on your own skills development for a bit, do let us know what topics you'd like us to cover, and we can see what we can do. My wonderful colleague, Matt, and I'm just going to slightly throw him in here. He does a really good LinkedIn workshop. So if you are interested in sharpening up your LinkedIn skills, then let us know, and we can get that organised for you. So I'm just looking in the Q&As. So with an apprenticeship, can you do that alongside a full-time job? Yes, 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 is the answer to that, Amy, and it works a dream. So with an apprenticeship, part of the commitment from your employer is that they give you 20% of your working time out of work to study that apprenticeship as well. So the way that we structure things at Whyy is that roughly half of that time is spent doing live workshops. Feel like we've been doing them over Zoom for a lifetime, but we've just been able to welcome the marketing apprentices back into the Whyy Change HQ in Sheffield. So yeah, we deliver the CIM qualifications, and then the rest of it is completely aligned to your workplace. So it's making sure that you are taking that learning back into your job. Every 8 to 10 weeks or so, we have what we call an apprenticeship review, which sounds very, very formal, but it's not that formal, which is a 3-way conversation between myself as the tutor, you as the student, and your line manager or your work mentor as well, where we talk about actually, are you being given the opportunities in your workplace to be able to implement what you have learned. The apprentices take a minimum of 12 months. You do have your full official CIM accreditation, and then we take you through what we call endpoint assessment to achieve the full apprenticeship qualification. The really good thing, if you are UK based, is that the government are very generous in the funding that they can provide for that apprenticeship framework. So depending on the size of your organisation, depends on the level of funding, but a lot of, I'd say a lot of employers are delighted at the level of funding that you can actually get to cover the apprenticeship. From a learner point of view, so I am working with two cohorts at the minute. I've got a cohort of apprentices and I've got a cohort that are just doing straightforward commercial CIM courses. The apprentices have roughly about a day a week to focus on their learning. Part of that is coming in and having the workshops for myself. On the flip side, those that are doing it through the commercial route are spending their evenings and weekends getting through that qualification. And in the case of one of them, the time that they are spending in lessons, they are having to work back at work. I did that my qualifications were that route, they were commercial, and I have done a lot of all-nighters getting my way through my quals to start with. Hand on heart, and this is absolutely no sales pitch whatsoever, if I could have just done that as an apprenticeship, I would have jumped at the chance. You can be any age to do an apprenticeship. You know, a lot of people do think it's for school leavers. You know, there is no age restriction whatsoever. Some people think that you can't do an apprenticeship if you've already got a degree, and that's not quite the case either. If you didn't perhaps cover marketing at all or in any great depth as part of your degree programme, then you are more than able to study CIM as an apprenticeship with us. The other benefit to apprenticeships is that we cover the cost of your CIM registration and assessment fees as well. So yes, it's lovely, it's really nice. So the benefits of doing a CIM course. So you've probably gathered by the fact that I am a CIM tutor and I have been a CIM member since 2003 maybe. I am hugely committed to the Chartered Institute of Marketing. I think speaking as a marketing professional, having your CIM quals, it's almost having like that little badge of honour to show that you are a skilled practitioner. You have the ability to then progress up to chartered marketer status. And as a chartered marketer, we do a minimum of 35 hours CPD each year, and we need to evidence that to the CIM to uphold that status. And again, that's something that is really important to me, because I want to show not only to my students and learners, but to my clients that I'm working with, that I am at the top of my game when it comes to marketing skills. I also feel that it's like being part of a community, that, you know, that you can ask people questions, you can have a conversation with another CIM marketer, and you know that they've been through the same training and perhaps the same experience as well. And above and beyond, I mean, it's a long time ago since I did my CIM quals, but I am still in touch with my fellow learners from the same time, and I've carried that through my entire career. So it really helps you build up that network of other marketers as well. So we've just got another question on here. Can I apply for the apprenticeship even after completing a degree in a different field? Yes, George, you absolutely can. One of our apprentices that is actually starting in our April intake, she has a first degree in events management, but that actually didn't cover hardly any marketing, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, we go through our processes are that I have a little one-to-one with a prospective learner. I really want to get a good idea from an apprenticeship point of view, what is your role within the business? What things are you working on? Are you working at maybe a strategic level or an operational level? And we'll chat through which is the right apprenticeship for you. And one of the things that we'll look at is, what did you cover any of this in your degree? Usually not. So yeah, if it's a completely different field, we've got apprentices. Some of the other stuff that we do at Whyy are things like leadership apprentices, Lean Six Sigma and quality. So there's actually a cohort of learners doing leadership at the minute. And one of the fellas has got I think it's a master's in astrophysics. Crazy. And he's doing an apprenticeship in management because that wasn't covered on his degree. So yeah, you can do that. So level 6 equivalent to traditional qualifications, it is equivalent to an undergrad degree. Again, the CIM level 4 in professional marketing. What logos and accreditation can I display on my stationery and website? So for a level 4, double check on the CIM website, and if you are still a paying member, you will be able to show that you've got your DIP-M, which is your diploma in marketing. Depending on your membership level with the CIM, you will probably have an ACIM if you're an affiliate member, or an MCIM if you're a full member. The CIM have just rolled out shiny new digital badges as well. So if you're a paying member, you will get your shiny badge that you can put on your stationery and on your digital as well. Ruth, can you join the apprenticeship even if you're not in Sheffield? Currently, we would prefer it if you are able to come to Sheffield. We are really keen on having that face-to-face interaction in that community locally, but I'd love to have a chat with you anyway, just to see, where you're based and whether there's anything that we can do if you are interested in joining our cohort. We'd absolutely love to have you. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions that I've missed. Your opinion, is the free version of Trello sufficient for a new startup? Yeah, it is. Yeah, don't spend your money on the paid version. That tends to be my analogy for most things, really, especially if you're a new start business. Spend as little money as you can. If you can, you're going to need that elsewhere. The free version of Trello is absolutely sufficient for what you'll need to start with. I've been working on the free, I started on the free version as a startup business, and 4 years later, I'm still using it and still loving it. Yeah, don't get the paid version. Save your money, buy yourself something nice with it. What do you recommend to start with if you are not video savvy or have a sufficient skill set yet? So yeah, going back to what I said about really trying to find your key strengths and strong points, I think when you're trying to do that, really open thinking as to what your customers want and what you can do. If you are really great at writing, that might lend itself to using those creative writing skills, maybe in a bit of blog writing or article writing. If you are really good at design, maybe go down the route of the infographic route. If you're not comfortable on camera, and I must admit, I have spent a solid 95% of my career avoiding the camera at all costs, and I mean all costs. Do you know what? Once you do it, it's not that bad at all. If someone would have told me, 2 or 3 years ago, oh, Laura, you're going to be doing a webinar and there's going to be over 100 people on it, I would have wanted to crawl under a table and never resurface. But you know what? Once you've done it a few times, it's fine. I hate listening to my voice back. I don't think many people do. But sometimes I think, you know what, there's worse things that could happen than people having to listen to my voice. And the one thing that I do that kind of gives me a bit of a confidence boost when it comes to video or live workshops or anything like that, is that it's actually turned into the point where I get a bit of a buzz out of it now. I like interacting with people, and I think actually if the easiest way to do that is through video, is through events, then I guess I've just taught myself to get over it. So if you're not feeling confident with the video skills, as someone who I've labelled myself as that for a long time. Just have a little go. Maybe try to do a little event that's only got 15 people coming, just to boost your confidence in it, and then see where it can take you from there. But I think you'll find that once you've done it once, you kind of get the bug, and it keeps going. Also, if you do it on video, it saves a lot of typing. Like if I'd have typed this presentation up, it would have taken me forever. I think actually it's just quicker to do it on video. Right, let's see if there's any other questions. I'll just bob in the chat, see if there's anything in there. And if not, we'll wrap it up. Oh, any good business-to-business marketing tips? Oh, I love a bit of business to business. Yeah, do you know what? I tend to find that in business to business, same business to business, but the people in those businesses are still human. And my first tip is actually to think of them as human beings rather than sometimes the pressure that comes with, oh, I'm doing a business to business campaign or business to business marketing. Think about what they need, perhaps as individuals, and then take it out from there. In practical terms, what I've tended to find is that businesses like things that they can participate in, whether it's little, events like this, whether it's kind of having, there's a real trend at the minute for networking events that are actually pleasant to be part of. I think so many people are scared of networking because it's always had a real stigma attached to it, and it's sometimes can be so salesy and intimidating, that I think if you can be the person in your marketplace that can host a networking event that resonates with those businesses, their employees, and then, dare I say it, be fun to attend, then that can work really well. In businesses, I tend to find that people want to be upskilled as well. So if you are, or if anyone in your business is an expert in a particular field, think about how you can share some of those tips and position yourself as maybe a thought leader or an expert in that topic. That can work really well in that business to business arena. Okay, I'll just see if there's anything else in the chat. If not, I might wrap up a little bit early. Call it a day. Oh, so we've got another question. What tools do I use to create content? Do I use Canva? I do use Canva, and my word, if I could find a career for myself just messing around on Canva all day, then that would be like the dream job. I use Canva. That is one where I've upgraded to the pro account, but it is very cost effective. But I find Canva particularly useful as a tool to get that consistent style, particularly for your social media icons and your social media content, but also if you are redesigning bits and bobs on your website. I use it for kind of website header images if I need to. So Canva I absolutely love. Hootsuite I'm a big fan of. I know that there's a million different scheduling platforms out there, but I've always been loyal to Hootsuite. I just find it the easiest to use. Another tool that I use is MailChimp. That is my absolute fave when it comes to e-coms. Again, I just find it easy to manage. Really easy to whip up a beautiful looking mailer. I also use Grammarly. Grammarly, I use the free version, is like a really, really good spell check. And some of the clients that I work with, especially if they are a solo marketer, or they are the business owner that's doing their own marketing, and they're a little bit nervous around their spelling and their grammar, I'd always recommend Grammarly. I always copy and paste any of my copy into there. It's a really great spell checker. It also gives you some feedback on the tone of that piece of writing as well. So if you wanted something to be quite maybe fun and personable, it lets you know that. You can also install it onto your mobile phone as well. So if you are answering client queries or you're responding to social media messages on the go on your phone, you can install it in there as well, so you can reduce your typos. Let me just see if there's anything else in the chat. Great stuff. Rightio. So, like I said, if there is anything, any future masterclasses, any topics that you'd be really interested in, do let us know. As I've mentioned, we are taking on students. This April is the next intake for our professional CIM courses and for our wonderful marketing apprentices as well. So if you do want any more information about that, if you want to set up a one-to-one call or a chat, get in touch via the website or hunt me down on LinkedIn, and I will be more than happy to tell you more about it. Likewise, if there's anything else that you want to know about Whyy, any of the other courses that we do, any other apprentices that we offer, it's a lovely place, I must admit. It is, this is no sell whatsoever. It is a lovely place to come and learn. The feedback that we get from our students is absolutely fantastic. We're a lovely bunch, we're a lovely team. The trainers are actually, we call them skilled practitioners, but they are people that are out there in the real workplace as well. I'm a fully fledged strategic marketing consultant and trainer, as well as delivering on our qualifications here. Linda, who heads up our quality department, is the same. She's got her own consultancy. She's working with massive businesses day in, day out, and she's, the top of the game in terms of a trainer as well. So I just wanted to finish off with another just humongous, massive thank you for taking part in today's webinar. It has been like a little bit of an ongoing kind of giggle in the office as to how many people have been interested in this. I think Matty sat over there was worried that we wouldn't fill the full 15 places. Like, I knew that wouldn't be the case. But to have such an overwhelming response, it's been wonderful. It's been absolutely fantastic. So thank you for having me today. I hope you've taken away some really useful tips and anecdotes, and I hope that you can progress your content plan, and it can do wonders for your business. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.